We're back, baby. This is the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. We blew a lead to Texas Tech, so get your horns up, because here we go. Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Another day, another dollar. A lot will be made of the Bijan fumble in overtime. He's our best player. He's the Heisman hopeful.
I don't think he's a Heisman hopeful.
Well, not anymore. He was the prince that was promised.
Yeah,
and
his odds at betonline.ag were plus 10,000 at this point. So I think it's fair to say that it's a far-fetched pipe dream. He's going to win the Heisman.
It was already far-fetched just because he's a running back. And
Right.
these days, running backs don't get it unless they have ridiculous seasons. I mean, we've seen running backs have amazing seasons and still not get it. Melvin Gordon had one. Deontay Foreman had a great one. Mm-hmm. There's guys out there, and there's just too many good quarterbacks these days that do it with their legs and with their arm.
yeah, I think Blake Corum could have a shot, the guy in Michigan, if they go undefeated and they beat Ohio State, and he's like 9 touchdowns right now.
Yeah.
So he could put it a shot there. But I think Bijan, obviously, now that we're 1-2, we blow it to Texas Tech. But my point being is
2-2.
2-2. Sorry, you were saying at the top of before we got on air that Anwar Richardson tweeted out that
Bijan has been walking around campus and the Texas facility with a football because he doesn't want to fumble again this season, and that multiple teammates and even a student tried to strip him and were unsuccessful.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's kind of stupid.
Sure, it's stupid, but my whole point is like it's one play of the game, and yeah, he's our best player, and yeah, it's the end of the game, and that was like the nail in the coffin, really. But the fact that we were even in that situation to me is ridiculous. Like, at what point?
Meaning the fact that we were in overtime?
Yeah, like at what point?
Well,
like,
realistically, we should have lost in regulation.
100%. Like, I mean, it was like a couple of like lucky moments, and obviously Auburn coming in and banging a massive field goal.
He's clutch.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, outside of that one kick that everyone like was harping on, the short, that short kick from the Alabama game, he had the game leading go ahead kick in the Alabama game to make it 19-17. Why can't our defense get a stop? That's just like what I don't understand. You're up 31-17 on the road in Lubbock. You're like a quarter away from getting out of there, going into West Virginia, probably getting your quarterback healthy. I also saw a tweet where someone was like, had like a bunch of likes. She's like, well, like the excuse of like if we had Ewers in and not Card, like that's a lame excuse, and you should not use Twitter today if you're tweeting that out. And that to me also is kind of BS, because if we had Quinn Ewers, the game was completely different.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, I don't get how you can't like say
it's
that.
a completely different game, but I also think that I thought Hudson Card played a good game.
Played solid,
I thought he
yeah.
quarterbacked a solid college football game.
Yeah, but it goes back to the defense, really. I just think that I do think that point, though, people make it like, oh, you can't say that. What if? Like, I mean, yeah, if we have a better quarterback in, things are going to be different.
Well,
yeah, but
the defense,
he played well. I thought for us it was 3rd and 4th down conversions. I thought the play calling got a little stale.
It did.
I mean, the Wildcats absolutely moronic.
It tends to happen a lot when Texas builds a lead. I mean, it happened last year as well. Like, for some reason, the scheme and the script flips, which it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like, the good teams just continue to rely on their ace, right? They continue to pound the ball, or they continue to dink and dunk or throw the ball, whatever. Like, Hudson all season long, and for the most part, our entire team has been pretty good at protecting the ball, not turning the ball over. Like, stop abandoning your play call, right? The wild card, as you mentioned, or the Wildcat, as you mentioned, Josh, should not be utilized that much, especially if they're stuffing us. Or, like,
the Wildcat sucks.
Or if it's a formation, I generally agree with you. Roshan, it's slightly different, right? Because he was a quarterback in high school.
Throw the ball.
Why have we never shown out of that formation a look where he can throw the ball?
An RPO or something.
We've never shown that. Because
Right.
at least if you've shown it on tape, they have to respect it somewhat. Basically, I think it was very obvious. It was essentially an HB direct every single time.
Exactly what's coming.
Yeah.
I don't think he handed it off to Bijan one time when he was.
No,
the
they ran the Wildcat play, same 3 play in a row.
Right.
And they ran, like, look, if you're going to run it on 3rd and short, that's one thing. I hated the call on 4th down. That was such a bonehead, like,
Give it to
unnecessarily
Bijan.
guts. It's 4th and short, and you need the 4th down. Why not give it to your best player? It was such a boneheaded and unnecessarily gutsy call. And by the way, going back to 4th down and going back to the defense, they were 6 of 8 on 4th downs. Texas Tech.
So what I was realizing there that game is, yes, they allowed 6 conversions out of 8, but your defense if you continue to get third down stop after third down stop after third down stop, and they're just going for it, you are so gassed, because normally if you make a third down stop, they're punting. Like that's normally it. Like, you did your job. They're playing their defense every single drive to make 4 stops in a row, and that's hard. That's so hard to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they did it twice on 4th down, but imagine how many. I mean, they put them in third down multiple times.
Yeah,
17 times or something.
But I felt it was typically throughout that game, the way that the script just kind of played out. It was 4th and manageable, right? It was, for the most part. It was 3rd and manageable for the most part. Like,
there's no pressure.
Right. I think that to me was the biggest takeaway, was that we got outplayed on the line.
Oh yeah,
both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And it was apparent. So that's when we talk about the halfback direct is what I'm going to call it, as opposed to a wildcat. When you're 4th and 2 and they blow up the line, like, that play can't work, right? And respectively on the other side of the ball, when you're not getting pressure and they have time on a 4th and 3, a 4th and 5, they can execute, because they have a lot of different options, that they tapped into in that game. And we knew it was going to be tough going on the road and winning in Lubbock. You hate to see like what happened at the end with their fans, not the storming of the field. I mean, you knew that was going to happen if they win the game.
Yeah.
But I saw a video of one of the Tech fans just like completely shoving one of our players to the ground very intentionally. That's not cool, obviously. It's just a bummer of a game, and it felt very eerily similar to a lot of football that we've seen in the years past, which is that's to me the most upsetting thing.
It's just like, at what point can you close? No turnovers. We got manhandled on time of possession. We're running the ball extremely well, but we're not pushing it. We're not yet. It doesn't open up the pass game. His deep ball, like outside of the Worthy, which he was wide open touchdown, like his deep ball is just duck central. He does not throw a good deep ball. We don't put the ball in Jatavian Sanders' hands anymore after that first game, really.
That's not his guy.
Yeah,
it's Quinn Ewers' guy, not Hudson's guy.
Whittington had a nice game, but I felt that, Roschon definitely struggled more than he has all season running the football. But I felt like, late in the game, put the ball in Bijan's hands, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be in a run formation.
Mm-hmm.
Pass him the ball. Get him the ball in the air. He's so dynamic when he has open field. And
did he? Correct me if I'm wrong.
He had one catch.
He had one reception?
He had one catch.
I think I turned to you guys at the bar at one point. How many catches did he have? I'm looking at it. He had one catch for 22 yards, but there was a point where he didn't have any, like deep into the game.
Right. And his one catch was 22 yards.
Like, so why not give him
exactly.
the ball? Yeah.
I think Texas has a tendency, just from recent years, to kind of be one-track minded when a new player comes in the mix. Like, the good teams are good at finding the strengths and weaknesses of their starters. Meaning Quinn Ewers, when he's in there, like, air it out, let's get the accuracy, let's get the deep ball going. Hudson's a runner. Like, he had a great run, like a fantastic run, and they did not play into that. Like, they need to play into the strengths of the guys that are actually playing.
He's finally healthy enough to actually.
Yeah, he was like Limp City half the game though too.
Yeah, but like, if he's something like, look, you have to make sure that the defense is kept on their toes. They have to respect what you were saying earlier, Toss. Like, if Roschon's in there throwing the ball, they can at least respect it. So with Hudson, respect that he can potentially run the ball as well, because that opens up better passes.
And if that's a part of his skill set and he doesn't have that to tap into, I know he won last week, then go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Like, Quinn is our starting quarterback.
He's got to be starting next week, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I'm going to defend Card because I think he had a good game. He played good enough football for us to win that game. I don't think
lost because of the defense.
Right. It's not his fault that we lost the game, but I do think that, like, what you're talking about, Nick, like, it's just we weren't, there wasn't enough variance on offense, and a lot of it, like, you can force the ball to Bijan in other ways outside of handing it to him in a single back formation or even out of the shotgun.
Yeah,
like, there's tons of ways that you can get. He should have 3 screen passes a game.
The one catch is because I do want to correct myself. Jatavian actually led the team with receptions at 5. He just had 40 yards. My point with the Hudson didn't have a bad game and he played well enough for us to win the game. It just got to a point in the second half, like after outside of the Bijan like 40-yard touchdown run, it's punt, turnover on downs. It's like we were so inefficient in the second half, and we're just not a threat. Like he's a decent threat on the run, but he's not a major threat on the run, and he's just not a threat to stretch the ball, deep. Like if a guy if you go like the best in the game, in all of football, which would probably be Lamar Jackson at running and his deep ball. Like Lamar is such a vicious threat because he could stretch the field. You can't play too close on him, but also you can't play too deep on him because he'll run. Like Hudson doesn't have he's not so great at either one of those things that you can still play a little shorter on him and his run becomes more ineffective. But again though, obviously we're spending a lot of time on Hudson at the moment, but I'm with you. It's not his fault that we lost. Like if you are a top 25 program, or if you're a program that has aspirations to win the Big 12, and you're at one point are winning 31-17, the expectation is that you win that game.
Keep your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Foot on the gas, get any kind of defensive stop. Like they had one guy that had 13 receptions. It wasn't for a boatload of yards, but just put a body on it.
That was also really frustrating me that, I forget his name, the number one, the
Price.
guy Price was being, at one point, he was doing a drag route getting covered by Ford. You're having an outside linebacker cover a fast slot receiver. And maybe it's just the zone that they were in. But you have to put your best man on defense on him. Put Jamison on him so we can keep up with him. And I know that Jamison plays the outside, but, God, we need someone in the slot corner or a nickel safety to roll down there and shut down their number one playmaker, because that was the guy who was making all the conversions for them.
Yeah, very timely conversions that he made. He was incredible. I know he didn't even have 100 yards, but it didn't really matter because every catch he did have was clutch.
And I don't think their quarterback was that great. He definitely played a great game. He played a great game, but it was his improvisational skills where he was out of the pocket and being able to find just, the open guy who just slipped away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Overshawn had a nice game, I felt.
In the first half.
Yeah, in the first half he didn't play.
Yeah, we didn't have him for the first half. That's a great point.
Yeah, you'd hope that in one half of football he'd be able to make an impact. Right?
He made an impact early on, and then that's at some point, your defense is just gassed.
That's no sacks in the defense. None of the defensive linemen had any sacks.
Yeah,
they're gassed. It was literally just them being gassed. How many plays did Texas Tech run? 70 something?
Yeah, I'll tell you in a second.
Compared to our 40?
Well, obviously, I think what happens with us.
They had 20 third down opportunities, which is just absurd.
That's a lot.
They had 50. They threw for 56. Dude, they had 56 pass attempts and they had 44 rush attempts. 100 plays.
So they had 100 plays compared to probably our
30 rush attempts. They outran us to 30 pass attempts. So 60.
Yeah.
Dude, the time of possession was 36-24.
That can't happen.
Right, and
that's
as we saw
egregious,
in classic fashion, when we got the lead, our plays turned into 3, right? How many plays we're operating with? And count the punt. Okay, 4. And then they're getting 12 plays back, right? Because they're driving on us because we get too predictable, especially when we're dealing with adversity where Hudson's in the game as opposed to Quinn. When Xavier Worthy goes down and we have to hand the ball off to Bijan, and then guess what? Yes, you're right, Josh. You can't really, you can blame him because he fumbled the ball, and if you're a Heisman caliber running back, a guy that we talked about as potentially, if he plays up to his potential being a top 15 first round draft pick, you don't fumble the ball in that scenario because that's just not what you do. But he's also put in a position where he has to put the entire team on his back, and it's not fair.
Yeah,
but it's the way that it goes, and so I think it has to be. It's on Sark and it's on the staff to make those adjustments to be more unpredictable when they're dealt injuries or whatever, suspensions, whatever it is.
You just if you're PK, that this is culminating on you. I know the defense is gassed, but you're up 14. You can't blow that massive lead. And it does kind of go back to complementary football because it can't be 3 and out every time. You have to figure out how to get the ball in our playmakers' hands and extend drives. It was a miracle we even got to overtime.
Yeah, that we had 20-something seconds to work with, 21 seconds to work with, and
we got to overtime.
We lost 9 of them on the first pass where he dropped back and took forever.
Had an amazing catch by Milton on the sideline, and then of course,
Incredible.
quick little out to Sanders to set up Auburn for a clutch kick with no time on the clock. That was awesome, but it just sucks to go out that way. You know, first play, your Heisman candidate, like I mentioned, just fumbles right away. It's just a kick in the nuts. So, moving on though to West Virginia. You know, obviously we're going to preview this later in the week, but
With Q.
We get Q back.
with Q, but hopefully, you know, the team really looks themselves in the mirror this week and just they look around and they say, look, this isn't over. We've got a long season ahead of us. That's the first week of Big 12 play. I mean, OU lost to Kansas State, so the Big 12 is vulnerable.
Kansas is 4-0. Like,
Yeah.
It's not going to, no game's a gimme game. And hopefully you talk about kicking the nuts. I hope this is the kicking the nuts that we get that, like, hey, you can't at any point start taking a nap in a game, ahead of a game. You can't overlook any opponent in the Big 12. It's a competitive conference.
this is and you definitely can't do the, like, we can still win the Big 12 because, like, win a game.
Yeah.
Win a game in the Big 12 first.
I mean, that's obviously what everyone's going to be thinking as fans. Can we still
Sure.
win the Big 12? Could we still get to the Natty? Of course, that's what people as fans like to do. They like to look all the way into the future. And I know that team isn't doing this and they shouldn't be doing this. They should take a game at a time. But conceivably, you know, if they win out, who knows? Big 12 champion.
Like, look, there's already, like,
Big 12 championship is certainly within reach, but we have to win out in Big 12.
Right.
This is not our team. This is not our football team. Like, our quarterback is not playing. And that it's not it's a big what if, and it's not a valid excuse as to why we lost because, again, like, it wasn't fully Hudson's fault. But if we're at full health, I don't think this game is blown because I don't think they get those opportunities. If we're at full health, I think we are one of – I'm not saying we're in the realm of Georgia. We lost to Alabama, you know, and then I think Ohio State's kind of kicking into high gear.
Yeah.
But USC looked unbelievably vulnerable. Like, I'm telling you,
Sure.
like, I think to your point, Nick, obviously not even having us – we just are coming off a bad loss, not even putting us in the realm of the conversation of a college football playoff, let alone Big 12. But looking at the rest of college football, I think there's going to be a lot of more eating alive that goes down.
Oh, for sure. It just seems like there's a lot of parity this year in college football. I mean, like you just said, USC played a super close game against Oregon State, who was undefeated, of course. But the Pac-12 always eats itself alive. ACC does the same usually. Clemson, you know, and Wake Forest played that crazy close game. It's going to be like that for the Big 12 as well. But there's two things that could happen that I'm really used to seeing out of Texas. Either this could be the downfall of Texas, right? Where, like, you have that one bad loss and everything just goes to shit right after that, right?
Yeah.
That happened last year. Or they can rebound and just say, okay, it's time. We just took 2 L's in a row, right? No, not 2 L's.
We
Bama, then win, then we
loss,
just took an
win,
L.
loss.
Yeah. We're just going to go out and, you know, take it game by game and try to win every single one we can.
I hope they don't have the mindset, Josh, that you are iterating out loud. And I'm talking about, it's fine for us as fans to have this, but, like, to do the thing where it's like, oh, we didn't have Quinn in the Bama game and that's why we lost. We would have won that game. That's one time.
Right.
Right.
Can't do it again.
You can't do it again. You can't get that, like, oh, but, like, because now they're feeling at that point, the players, if they have that mentality, they're feeling sorry for themselves.
Well, I mean, if you look at it,
Deal with the circumstances you're dealt.
Hudson Card had offers probably from all over.
Yeah.
He could have played at Tech if he wanted to, right? 100%.
He could have played at Oklahoma.
Could have played whatever.
Baylor. Could have played TCU.
He could have done it this year. He could have transferred.
He was a 4-star quarterback. Yeah, he could be a starting quarterback in another program. So you can't say just because we didn't have Quinn we lost that game. You know, like,
and we're trying to be the program where it doesn't matter who our backup is because he slots in and it's Tua Tagovailoa
exactly
who's slotting in
exactly.
to take it
and
and win that game.
I feel like Hudson probably would have started over this guy if he was at Tech.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is like also like looking at it. Yeah, we go talk about all of like Hudson's inefficiencies, but there's a certain point where we look at it and go, okay, Keelan Robinson is a supremely talented player. Why are we not doing enough to get the ball in his hands?
Besides first touchdown, that's it.
Makes
no sense.
It's like, why are we not doing more to get the ball in Casey Kane's hands, who's a talented receiver? I just think that
Once again had one reception. I feel like every reception he's had each game
been huge.
has been so big, and we don't look at him at all outside of that.
there's just, while we want the ball to be in our big playmakers' hands, there is still maybe too much of an emphasis of putting it in their hands. And we have other talent on the roster that we need to get involved that could potentially unlock and free up some of our other guys.
The best thing that Bill Belichick figured out before any other NFL team. I feel like when the Pats were as good as they were, was that versatility beats everything.
Yeah.
And that means unpredictability. Like all of those things add together when they don't know what you're going to do, and when your guys are all awesome playmakers and you're leaning in and making your starters do what they do best. Nick, like what you're talking about. And if it's getting the ball to Bijan, whether it's through the air or giving him a handoff, like it doesn't matter, right? It's all those things together. Like that's the ingredients that creates a recipe for winning football.
Yeah, secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if we're weirdly talking about like just like throw the NFL thing out there once more. Like I think that Falcons roster stinks personnel wise, but they utilize the versatility of each of the players so much, like Cordell Patterson, Mariota. And that's how they're able to win games and stay in games because they use that versatility so well. And we have that.
It doesn't mean trick plays either, right?
No,
like,
it just means like there's just like, hey, like the RPO with Hudson. It means like Keelan Robinson, having him in the backfield instead of Roschon with Bijan, like having like all of these like mixing and matching your personnel and kind of like throwing them for a loop more.
Our team is too talented to play the game straight up. Like it's so easy to game plan a team to just all right, run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. Like mix it up, like maybe get Xavier Worthy involved in the run game a little bit. Whittington involved in the run game a little bit.
End arounds, jet sweeps.
Throw
Keelan in the slot and then pull him in for an end around.
Exactly. Throw Keelan in the slot. Like let Roschon throw the ball, like you just mentioned. RPO. I mean, there's so many things that can keep teams on their toes that you can't really prepare for yet because you haven't seen any tape on it. I just think that we're just too stagnant right now in our mindset, and no criticism on Sark, but maybe he doesn't need to be calling plays. Maybe he just needs to be focused on head coaching.
I mean, we've seen in the Broncos games, right? I know they beat the 49ers,
Barely.
but Nathaniel Hackett is supposed to be like an offensive genius, but he's not an OC. Points. He's a head coach. It's a totally different job. And sometimes, like, you just got to manage the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And Coach O was like, he didn't run anything.
He was just a vibes guy.
He was just a vibe guy.
CBO.
I'm not saying, Sark needs to be chief vibes officer, but
he already is.
I mean,
I love Sark. I think I feel differently still about this roster than I do last year. And Nick, your two choices, I think we'll bounce back.
I agree.
So
I believe in the team. I believe in the talent.
I agree.
The defense is really what frustrated me. And I know we spent a lot of time on the offense, and I'm glad we did that because it's, again, complimentary football. But it was really the defense that frustrated me.
Yeah. And that's been the story since last year, too. So
Since last year.
I mean,
since the end of time.
But yeah, we got Patterson there waiting the whims. I don't know what the phrase is.
It'd be wings. He's waiting there in the West Wings. But we'll go to West Virginia next. Let's get a bounce back game. I think it's a night one, which is nice.
Finally.
A little cooler.
Cooler. Yeah.
Cooler.
Get a night game in there, get that win, and then head to the Red River. Hopefully 3-2. And
He's a game hard game.
Well, every game's a hard game now, and be in a position where we can get the upper hand on Oklahoma heading, into the middle and heart of the season.
We're gonna beat Oklahoma this year.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, they did not look great against Kansas State.
We're gonna beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. All right. Josh Fisher, Alexander Desopoulos, Nikki Snacks Crider. Horns up. We'll see you next.